My name is Joel Williams, and I'm an educator and an advisor independently, and I work with a range of growers and farmers who are interested in looking at soils in a new way and kind of transitioning farming systems into something that's a bit more sustainable, into a low input kind of system. Conservation agriculture is a method of farming that is really quite focused centrally around soil health and soil conservation. It's about protecting the soil. And there are a few different strategies to that, but probably one of the underlying and key principles is that lack of soil disturbance. It's about moving to min-till and no-till systems where we do not plough the soil, we do not disturb the soil. And one of the underlying reasons why we'd want to do that is actually that disturbing the soil is not good for the microorganisms that live in the soil, for the soil ecology, for the life in the soil. And part of what conservation agriculture is about working with the living soil and adjusting your farming principles to accommodate that. It's about working with the living soils rather than working against it. And so therefore we adjust our farming practices to utilize strategies that continually help to build soil health and increase soil health over time. Soil health is ultimately the underlying link to all of wealth, to economic wealth, to the wealth of our health of our societies. Soil health is fundamentally important because a healthy soil gives healthy plants and animals, and of course that gives healthy people as well. But for a farming system, it's about optimizing soil health so that we can minimize our dependency on fertilizers and other inputs. And the healthier that we can create the soil and make the soil, actually the healthier the plants are, the better the plant quality, the less inputs they are that are required, and that's ultimately good for the back pocket as well. One of the key messages out today was this idea that we need to rethink soils. We need to widen the lens on how we view soils. We have a history of kind of narrowing it down, compartmentalizing how we look at soils and look at things and look at the farming system, the farming organism. We need to widen that lens and look at it as one bigger picture. We need to become a bit more systemic, a bit more holistic, and look at the whole integrated picture. So we need to optimize soil health so that we can create healthy plants, which when we do that, they require less pesticides and less inputs. Because they have plants have an immune system just like humans do, just like all animals do. And when we feed the plant the right nutrients, balance the right nutrition, so that the plant can fuel that immune system, we actually see that plants have an inherent ability to resist insects, to resist disease. But they've got to have the right nutritional balance and the right fuel, the right energy to fuel that process. And that's what we need to really be moving towards. We need to be shifting our thinking away from addressing symptoms, short-term thinking. We need to move to addressing root causes, long-term thinking. And that's what addressing soil health is all about. It's creating healthy soils for the long term, addressing root causes of the problems. So what we're finding is that as we explore more into the science in the world of soil biology, it's traditionally been an aspect of soil health that we've neglected. And in recent years, we've been great advances in methodologies to analyze microorganisms in soils. And it really has pushed the boundaries forward. We are pushing new frontiers in our understanding of the role of these soil microorganisms. And it's very much cutting edge information in terms of realizing that microbes in soils have the capacity to substitute the role of fertilizers, to substitute the role of some of our pesticides. And that is much of the emergent knowledge that was coming out of new techniques like DNA and molecular-based methodologies of measuring soil life. And we're starting to, it is literally a black box of information. It's a huge, vast and complex world that we're only just beginning to unpack and understand how all of these microbes interact and the benefits that they can bring in going forward into a more sustainable farming system. So of course the great challenge is translating that science into something practical, applying this out in the field, and definitely that's the part of the process that we're going through now, but there are already early adopters, there are growers using these techniques, some of these techniques, all of these techniques, different pieces of knowledge is happening all over the world actually. And some farmers are integrating those together into a more comprehensive system, more and less so than others. But there are pockets of knowledge that is getting rolled out on a practical level. It's definitely the challenge that we have ahead, of course, absolutely. But of course the science comes first, and then we need to roll out those practical things. But already the level of interest, the number of growers that are starting to use these techniques is trickling in, and it's only a matter of time before we really piece together all of the rest of the pieces of the jig puzzle and take this forward.